Returning from the summit of NATO's eastern flank countries, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk once again attacked the Polish president, claiming that Karol Nawrocki is not cooperating with the government and is allegedly undermining the authority of the Polish government in international politics. The problem for Donald Tusk is that despite his many attempts to whitewash reality, it is clear to everyone that it is the head of the government who is persona non grata at international meetings. Moreover, it is no secret that Donald Tusk, by attacking the US president, is himself responsible for the opinion in which he has held in global circles. Prime Minister Donald Tusk, returning from the summit of NATO's eastern flank countries in Finland, said, "President Nawrocki and his entourage are effectively refusing to cooperate on foreign policy, and it's not just about the G20. Almost every day I encounter attempts by someone from the president's entourage to undermine the authority of the Polish government and of Poland." Complete nonsense. Does this make the Prime Minister stronger? No. It confirms his reputation, which he established permanently by pointing two fingers behind President Trump's back, and later confirmed on the European stage, as you remember, when he was politely asked to travel in a different train carriage to Ukraine. This is not the first time we have heard the Prime Minister's words aimed at the President, especially when the government is not doing particularly well on the international stage. Donald Tusk has made attacks on the president his method of political conflict. He has failed to keep his promises, and his coalition partners are practically exhausted. Therefore, in order to remain relevant on the political scene, he has adopted a tactic of attacking the president at all costs, even at the expense of Poland. We asked members of Donald Tusk's coalition about his words. Maybe the government should take half a step back. This is precisely the kind of thinking where people always say, they are to blame. Let the government take half a step back. I believe that if the president took that step, it would be for the sake of the security and set a good example. I don't think Prime Minister Donald Tusk is attacking the president. The president should be with the government on the issue of Ukraine, together with our postulates here. Some of the Prime Minister Tusk's intentions may be surprising. I see it as an appeal to shape foreign policy internally, but in such a way that it speaks with one voice. I see it as meaning that there must be daily or regular consultation between the presidential palace and the government. In this case, I see that for the purposes of international politics here in our country, Donald Tusk has decided to make the president a punchbag. The truth is that this government is terrible and fails time and time again. When it turns out that the United States is taking some action that should prompt the Polish government to act, the government pushes the president aside. When the president visits Washington and achieves concrete success, Donald Tusk tries to take credit for those successes. It's pretty grotesque. The Marshal of the Sejm, a post-communist, has only one recipe for remedying the situation: present the same position as the government. If this order is established and maintained, we will have no conflict. Prime Minister Donald Tusk has done everything to weaken the president's position because he is currently the only person who represents us with dignity on the international stage. Of course, the government should be doing this, but this government is not capable of it. Interestingly, on his way to the summit in Berlin on peace in Ukraine, Prime Minister Tusk himself assessed with disarming honesty the real place of Polish diplomacy in the war caused by Putin. Of course, our influence is limited. We know how important the players are in this game. It turns out that Prime Minister Donald Tusk has no influence on many issues discussed at this meeting, but he is trying, for the sake of Polish politics, to show that he does have some influence. However, it seems that not everyone in the coalition understood the Prime Minister's words on the way to Berlin, or they understood them in their own way. I have the impression that the opposite is true, that if there are attacks, they are directed at Prime Minister Tusk. This is not just an impression, but a certainty. Contrary to what he said, that no one can outplay him in Europe, or that he knows European affairs, it turns out that today European leaders do not invite him to the most important negotiating tables. This is Donald Tusk's modus operandi. He is unable to solve the real problems of Poles, so he wants to create spectacles and attack his political opponents. At the moment, he is attacking President Nawrocki. The thing is, the problems of Polish diplomacy regarding Ukraine only began after the coalition led by Donald Tusk came to power. When I was Prime Minister, we managed to force Germany to make a much greater contribution in the early stages of the war in Ukraine. We finally managed to get the Leopard tanks, because it wasn't easy, traveling to various capitals and getting those tanks to defend ourselves against the Russians. Unfortunately, Donald Tusk is not a partner on the international stage. He brought this on himself. Poland's starting position was very good. We were one of the main players in Central and Eastern Europe, in terms of the idea for Ukraine, in terms of the country without which it is impossible to help Ukraine. Donald Tusk squandered all of this. Today, Polish President Karol Nawrocki is the only person who can ensure good relations between Poland and the largest and strongest NATO country, the United States. Donald Tusk is a burden not only in our relations with the United States, which requires no proof, but he is also a burden for Europeans who are conducting fundamental negotiations on the future of Ukraine, but also for Europe in its relations with the United States. Because it's not particularly good to be seen with such leaders, even in photographs. Magdeburg, Dingolfing, Berlin. In recent days, terrorist attacks on Christmas markets have been foiled in German cities. In each case, the authorities emphasize that the attacks were at an advanced stage of planning. In Western Europe, Christmas is a time of heightened alert and a race against time. Experts argue that this threat will not be eliminated for a long time, if ever. A 21-year-old immigrant from Central Asia is preparing for deportation. According to the police, he was planning an attack on a market in Magdeburg. It was there that a year ago, on December the 20th, a massacre took place when a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian drove his car into a crowd of people. 6 people were killed and over 230 were injured. 5 immigrants from Morocco and Egypt planned a similar scenario in Dingolfing, near Munich. The scenario was almost identical, although it is possible that it could have been carried out in different places at the same time. A 56-year-old Egyptian citizen allegedly called for an attack with a vehicle on the Christmas market in Dingolfing in a mosque, with the aim of killing or injuring a large number of people. 3 suspects, all Moroccan citizens, allegedly agreed to carry out such an attack. A 5th suspect was to assist them. In all cities where similar events take place, the authorities are on high alert. Armed officers are patrolling the streets, and the markets themselves resemble besieged fortresses. There is no such thing as 100% security in the world. It is impossible to achieve. However, I believe that we are quite well protected against cars and so on. We have solid security measures here, and the police are well connected. The organizers of such events are doing everything they can to attract visitors, because their numbers are clearly declining. Security concerns are one of the key factors, hence the assurances of the best security measures and the presence of the services. It's a completely different feeling from before. Somewhere at the back of your mind, you are aware of what is happening, what you hear, what is getting closer and closer in neighboring cities. Fortunately, nothing has happened here yet. The mere sight of concrete barriers and police cordons gives a sense of security, but at the same time makes everything more tangible than in previous years. In addition to the threat of terrorism itself, there are other cultural problems. Christmas markets have become the perfect place for Muslim anti-Israel demonstrations. Contemporary jihadists are learning very hard how to carry out such attacks, and we have seen various systems that they have used. If they failed to obtain explosives because the services were monitoring them, they switched to using cars to run people over. On the other hand, social media is flooded with videos of tourists visiting Poland, the Baltic states and Hungary. As they emphasize, the differences are visible to the naked eye.
Get in, like when I went to the one in London, you had barriers and you had wand.
According to analysts dealing with security issues in Europe, the West will not get rid of this problem quickly, if at all. Unfortunately, jihadists are very resourceful, and the Christmas season with its markets is one of their potential targets. Looking at the rapid cultural changes in France, Great Britain and Germany, it is possible that in the near future, the tradition of Christmas markets will become a thing of the past. Already today, in some cities in Western Europe, traditional Christmas markets have been renamed winter markets, so as not to provoke unnecessary controversy, according to the authorities.
It seems to be a tradition wherever they are organized, and regardless of whether they are summer or winter games. The closer the torch is lit in the stadium, the greater the concern that the organizers of the Olympic Games will not be ready on time. The delayed construction of an important cable car is still ongoing, as are the finishing works in the Olympic Village. And the clock is ticking. There are 51 days left until the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Olympic Games. The Olympic Village in Milan will host 1,700 residents, athletes, coaches, technicians, and staff.
The village is hosting two different typology of units, single occupancy or double occupancy. Here we're going to host more than 40 different countries here that will compete in ice hockey, short track, figure skating, and speed skating competitions. This village is composed by 6 residential buildings, and at the level 0 of each residential buildings we are going to organize specific activations and services and spaces for the athletes, like the dining hall, like the fitness center, like a recreational area, like activation of the partners.
The village is almost complete, but work is still ongoing and must be finished in the first week of January. The athletes will arrive by January 30th.
We have 6 different residential buildings. Each building has 7 floors. From the first floor to the 7th, we have the units. At the level 0, we have the facilities like the dining hall, the fitness center, the polyclinic, the recreational area, the Olympic Village Plaza, in which we are going to have the activation of the partners. So all the spaces to let the athletes be at home away from their homes.
The Milano Raw ice hockey arena has already passed its first major test when the Polish U20 national team faced Japan in the Division I Group B World Championships. Due to delays in the construction of the main Santa Giulia ice rink, the temporary Raw facility has become a key testing ground for the Milan Cortina 2026 Games. There are delays at some venues, but everything will be completed on time. We manage each construction project together with the venue owners and the companies responsible for the construction work. Together, we are doing everything we can to minimize these delays. And now we are in Cortina d'Ampezzo, the second Olympic arena after Milan. It is called the Queen of the Italian Dolomites because it is located in the heart of these mountains. There are hundreds of kilometers of ski runs and lifts here. 95% of them have artificial snowmaking. We are in the heart of the village. On the right and left are 2 main buildings, each with an area of 10,000 square meters. This is where the offices and laboratories of the Anti-Doping Agency, a clinic, a gym, a fitness center, offices for various delegations, and warehouses will be located. We also have a games arena and conference rooms here. As this is a national landscape park, it must be restored to its original state after the Games. The village is a temporary structure consisting of a dining room, infrastructure, and accommodation. It is located in a very quiet area of Cortina, where you can hear the sound of the mountains. Isolate yourself if you want, concentrate if you feel like it, or go for a pleasant workout. The beauty of such a village is that everything will be removed afterwards. With 51 days to go until the Olympics, work on the construction of the gondola lift, which is to transport thousands of spectators from the city center to the venue where the women's skiing competitions are held, is severely delayed due to landslides. The project includes 10 pylons and 3 stations, lower, intermediate, and summit, with 50 cabins, each of which can accommodate 10 people and transport 2,400 passengers per hour. Located in the Dolomites, Cortina is one of Italy's most famous winter resorts, which hosted the Olympic Games in 1956. However, it does not have a railway station, and access via the only main road to the city can be difficult during rush hour. Therefore, special measures are being introduced to alleviate traffic congestion. The Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics will take place from February 6th to the 22nd. During this time, athletes will compete in 116 events in 16 disciplines. The competitions will be held at 13 venues in northern Italy. The Paralympics will be held in March.